You see this ad for everything's about some new drug that's going to help you out. And they always come with the disclaimers that feature hideous warnings while being mumbled, and they take up about half the ad about the side effects and the possible negative implications of taking this drug on a regular basis. Meanwhile, the woman is walking through a field of butterflies. She's blowing bubbles, walking a little puppy on a rope because she just took 2 pills and got over lifelong depression. Incredible. But the Jardiance ad, have you seen that? Jardiance, I believe it's a diabetes medication. And they got this big fat chick who gets off a train and immediately is leading 25 to 30 people in singing songs about how wonderful the effects are of Jardiance. And I'm thinking the last time I saw a drug like that was when we had Dennis Rodman doing shows at that Bamboo Beach Tiki Bar right on the beach here in Fort Lauderdale. And he was like gargling with Goldschlager. Yes, he was pretty much out of his mind the entire time. And one night he comes on our show, and I've never seen a guy happier in my life. And I thought, whatever drug this guy's on, I want some of that.
Yes.
I don't know that Jardiance gives you that kind of a feeling, but you would assume that it just was a key to happiness, that as soon as you started guzzling a bunch of Jardiance pills out of this bottle, that you were going to be happy and your diabetes was going to disappear, or would get to the point where you just didn't fucking care about possible complications and the implications of having this hideous disease. Unbelievable, right? So we have to get rid of that.
The time! Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
All right, pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you. The Defo Show, featuring one Mike Lubie Lubitz. I'm Jeff DeForest, a.k.a. Defo. And if you're not familiar with that, then you probably haven't followed us over the last 40 years that we've been doing this here in South Florida, and the last 15 or so with one Mike Lubie Lubitz. And always a pleasure to be with you guys on a Degenerate Monday, especially, peel yourself off to that Monday, which could also be a Degenerate Monday because of the fact that we have a carryover from Degenerate Friday when everybody was betting their brains out on these college basketball games. It is weird, too, Lubie. I mean, it is true. People that didn't watch a single second of college basketball are now sending in, hey, yeah, I had 400 on Utah. Based on what? I don't know. Based on handicappers? I mean, if you were basing your selections on the handicapping picks that we gave out, our two big wise guy consensus selections were what, Lubie? Drake, yes. Which Drake was a strong selection of our good friend Blake Chadwick. Yes. Now a world-renowned wrestling announcer, but still more immersed in college basketball.
Oh, he loves college basketball, yeah.
Most people that we know. And of course, everybody loved New Mexico, which was a selection that seemed to be across the board, and they got buried. Richie Pitino and company, and the theories were solid. They were absolutely, they seemed to be laced with logic.
The Sun had been good all year. I mean, they came into the tournament with a lot of steam, and that did not work out so well.
Ugliness. I mean, just complete. So we were 0 for 2. Our wise guy selections 0 for 2. We did intimate, I think, to everybody that take a little taste on Samford in their opening game, and they were within the 7.5 that they were being accorded in terms of points. So you had a winner there, but and nearly pulled off the outright upset on the money line. Very interesting, though, all the way around. You would have not expected Oakland to win a game, especially since they open up as a number 14 seed against number 3 Kentucky. John Calipari, wow, did he look like he was being, sized up to be zipped up in a body bag after that game? I'm sure he's not going to suffer any win, lose, or draw. And you're wondering how much longer. But would Calipari immediately get an NBA job if it was made available, or are people looking at him now with a lot of Matthew Lesko question marks on the jacket?
Yeah, no, he's not. I mean, I think he's in his late 60s, if not 70s, and he's struggled. I mean, if you look,
he looks good for 70. If he's 70,
I think he's late 60s. He has struggled with a lot of talent the last, decade. Like even outside of the last 5 years, when they haven't won anything, they weren't getting to Final Four. It's been a long time since they've actually contended for a championship at Kentucky, even though he has top classes every year. Yeah, no, people don't talk about Calipari in the same light. A lot of people are wondering if he's overrated.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's gotten out of the second round like in the last 5 or 6 years.
5 years at least. He hasn't. He's only won one game in the last 4 years.
Yeah, and he has one win in that period of time while being in the tournament. Almost every year or every year since then. He looked like one of those guys that shows up at some lawyer's office and said, you know what? I was at Camp Lejeune in the 80s, and the water didn't taste right to me. And you're thinking, how fucking desperate are you, man? You showed up here and you're trying to convince me you were at Camp Lejeune. You probably have as much credibility as Ipe Mizuhara right now, who claimed that he went to UC Riverside, who claimed that he was an interpreter for a pitcher with the Boston Red Sox, a guy named Hideki Okajima, another Hideki in Major League Baseball, which UC Riverside has no record of him ever attending a class or being enrolled there. The Boston Red Sox say they never saw the guy. What the fuck is going on with that Otani story? That's a beauty. And are we going to get any clarification or more confusion today? What do you expect? Otani is going to address this story now about his gambling exploits. And now, here's the other side of it. What difference does it make if he was betting $20 million on some other sport? Is there a rule in Major League Baseball that you're not allowed to gamble at all? I can't imagine that would be enforceable.
I thought there was, but maybe there's
Gamble
not.
at all. I mean, not just on baseball, but
Well, I mean,
gamble at
it's
all.
illegal gambling. I mean, he didn't go to Vegas, or he didn't go to the English
Oh yeah,
stadiums
yeah.
and bet there.
He's doing it through a bookie, right?
He's betting
Exactly.
illegally. Like to this day in Vegas, if you go on the streets of, if you go downtown and bet through some dude, even in Vegas, that's illegal. Like
Yes.
it's illegal to go to a place. Here, it's illegal to go to Hard Rock. It's illegal to go on the app. But if you go to your bookie, that's
If you're betting it with Lipschitz,
yes, that's
Yeah.
not legal. So no, what they did, no matter where they were doing it, was illegal because they were going through a fucking bookie. Because again, the dude didn't have the fucking money, and that's why for people that scream about legal gambling being bad, to me it's good because you have to. You're not getting down $4 million.
No.
Like if you're getting down $4 million, it's because you're fucking Floyd Money Mayweather and you put up $4 million. Like this only happens with a bookie, and that's my problem with illegal gambling. Is it's not regulated. Oh, there she is. It's not regulated, and it can go wrong very quickly and very easily, and then you're left with this fucking disaster.
Oh my God! I mean, that's the number one question I would have had about whether it was Ipe Mizuhara or was it Bonzini all along? Was it Otani all along?
Yeah.
What bookie is going to extend some guy who has a job as an interpreter, albeit with the highest paid ball player in the world? Is he highest paid ball player overall in the world?
Yes. In the world, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, is he eclipsed like
guys are like fucking nuts?
What's Ronaldo making from the Saudis? What do you
like
think?
billions. I think around billions. So yes,
Okay,
I don't know if he's in the world, but in North American athletics, yes, he's number
North
one.
American sports, biggest sports contract that we've ever seen, and this is coming on the heels. It wasn't like he was getting fleeced by the Dodgers during the time that he was playing, or by the Angels when he was playing there. So, is it believable though that some bookie is going to extend an interpreter a $4.5 million line of credit? Seems impossible, doesn't it? That somebody would go to that extent and just say, okay, Mizuhara, we know you never went to college. We know you weren't an interpreter for some guy with the Red Sox. We know that you never spent one day in spring training with the Yankees with this same pitcher. We know that you're full of shit, but we're going to allow you to have a $4.5 million line of credit because you're such an asshole that you keep betting soccer games and losing your fanny.
I do love that it's turned out that he's just lying about everything. Like, how the fuck? They don't do any background. Like, I don't know. My whole life, people checked into all the shit I did. Like, how do these people get away with all this crap? And like, it's if
as protective too as Major League Baseball organizations tend to be about their
Otani?
players.
Like, how does he get set up with this fucking? Like, I don't understand that at all. Like, the whole thing's he's lying about his colleges. He's lying about his past experience. Like, and it took them 5 seconds to figure out he was lying. So, like, what were you doing when you were the two were getting together? Like, I don't.
It's as mysterious as thinking that Roger Clemens, with access to every doctor in the universe, was allowing Brian McNamee, some assistant trainer and equipment manager with the New York Mets, to treat him for various medical situations, right? And allowing him to inject things into his body. And you're not even going to say, hey, was there any chance that you have a medical license? Did you ever even go to like the University of Guam Medical School? Anything. No bookie's going to give this guy $4.5 million worth of credit. So here's the thing. The story just keeps getting wilder with this Otani deal. And I would imagine the confusion will be enhanced and greatly exponentially ratcheted up today as Otani is about to speak about this whole thing. Now, did he have action on the NCAA tournament? That would be the first question, right? Otani finishes. The interpreter says he says that he had no knowledge of it, and he feels completely betrayed by this Mizuhara guy. And then you raise your hand, Lubie, and go, "Hey, Shohei, did you have Yale in the opening round?"
That would be great. You just ask him, and he gives you like his natural reaction is like, he's like, "Yeah, they fucked me."
All of a sudden, he speaks perfect English. You know what? Fuck you.
Yeah,
Fuck you. You're an asshole. I read your columns. You don't know nothing about nothing. Right? He gives the Mayweather treatment to Larry Merchant after the fight. They should fire you right now, Merchant. You don't know shit about boxing. That was great. All right, so that'll be interesting. I mean, what are your overall observations of the tournament? Do you have any general sort of consensus theme that you've seen so far? The cream continues to rise to the top. You have what? All of the number one seeds are in there, and all of the number twos are still in there.
Yeah. It feels like a more old.
So that's 8 of the 16 teams, or 1 and 2 seeds.
The last few years, FAU, which was a 9 seed, and St. Peter's, and
St. Peter's was like a 15.
Loyola Chicago, and like
and where's Sister Jean?
Like these runs, this feels like the tournament to turn back the clock. Like in the middle of parity, it feels like the 1s and 2 seeds are not only winning, they're winning with fucking ease. I mean, none of the I don't know if any of the games with the 1 and 2 seeds have been even close. Yeah, the 3 and 4s have struggled. We've seen some losses. We've seen some games go down to the wire, but the 1 and 2s, they're not only winning, like Arizona looks fucking unbeatable. Purdue, it feels like Purdue's doing what Virginia did a few years ago, where Virginia lost the first number 1 seed to lose to a 16 and then won the title the next year. Purdue's just fucking hammering. Purdue's not even leaving it up to chance after what happened last year with Fairleigh Dickinson last year. Like Purdue is just annihilating teams. And Arizona,
how is it? I mean, the professor's going to join us in a while to give us some expertise. But does he still believe that Zach Edey is a useless commodity as a potential pro?
He's not
useless.
It's I don't know if Ken frames things very black and white, and the NBA these days, big men for the most part are athletic. Even the big men that don't put up a lot of points, there's not a lot of teams that have the fucking doof. Yeah, Sabonis for the Kings doesn't look the most athletic. The dude's a really good big man. Jokic.
Well, he can play outside, though, Sabonis.
You look at Jokic. Okay, Jokic feels like a Clyde. Jokic has some of the best footwork you've ever seen from a big man, and it's fucking insane. Like, there's not a lot of Michael Doliaks. There's not a lot of Greg Ostertags. Like, the NBA's defensively, as much as there is no defense, big man-wise, they want the big to – not they want, because the offensive game is so much around the three-point line, including big guys, defensive guys – the big on defense has to be able to move. And
can you imagine Zach Edey trying to stop Antetokounmpo on a drive to the basket?
That's Ken's point, is you're not switching him on that. Like when they do the switches where the guy has to go cover a 3 or a 4 for a few seconds.
Or even a center. I mean, look at the moves these guys are making, most of them.
I mean, most of the bigs are athletic dudes. He doesn't have a place there. But he's still a big dude that can play some defense, and he has a really good touch. Offensively, he's not a clod. Like the dude he passes well. He can shoot out. He can shoot it if he's singled up. He's good within the first 10 feet. He could probably figure out how to get a 3-point shot. He's going to be a first-round pick, and he's going to have a career in the NBA.
He's going to be a worthwhile scrub on a team.
I don't know how long it's going to be. I don't think he's going to be there for decades. I don't think he's going to be a centerpiece of a team. But the guy.
Don't forget, Darko Milicic was in the league like 12 years later.
Exactly. The guy, even in this era of basketball, there's still big guys that block shots and dunk. Like Robin, the Lopez brothers have played for 45 years.
Yes.
And they don't do anything but block shots and shoot open threes. Like, why can't this guy figure out how to shoot an open 3? I mean, they sucked at shooting when they came into the league.
Yeah. I don't know that he's a 3-point shooting threat.
No, but I'm saying, like, if that's what he needs to do to stay in the league, guys do what they got to do to make fucking money. Like, he has
we'll see. Purdue, they've been throwing a ball into Edey. He literally has his head through the net of the basket. I mean, he is that far under the basket when he gets the ball, and all he does is just like push it through. It was a total mismatch yesterday. I don't even think Edey played the fourth quarter or the fourth. What would have been the fourth quarter, the last 10 minutes of that ball game. But nonetheless, so you have 1 seeds and 2 seeds, and of course the first round though it was, I mean, just littered with upsets. I mean, unbelievable, and that's the fun part of it, isn't it? I mean, when you have a Grand Canyon winning a game.
Yes.
What's next? DeVry University in the Sweet 16? I mean, what the fuck? University of Arizona?
NC State, which is
Oklahoma's a great story.
a week ago or 2 weeks ago now, I guess. NC State was not a
Yes.
tournament team; they were a team that people thought would lose in the first round of the ACC tournament. They've now gone on to win. What is it? 7 straight games. They won 5 games in 5 days in the ACC tournament. Then went and won as an underdog in the 64s, and then as I guess a favorite because they were 11 over 14 in the 32s. Yes, that was what makes the tournament fun. To me, Saturday and Sunday sort of sucked in that regard.
Yeah,
because
I didn't watch that much of it yesterday.
I didn't watch any of it yesterday, and I don't feel bad about it because, I had the games on and I had an eye on the games, but they were fucking boring. Even Clemson, which was an upset.
Clemson surprised me. I thought they could knock down the first round.
But they were up 8-10 the whole game. It wasn't like a dogfight. I guess A&M became a dogfight at the end, but Houston was winning most of that game. That game wasn't this highly contested affair. And that's the thing it doesn't suck, but the last few years we've had a lot of upsets even through to the 16s, and
yes,
this year it feels like it's reverted back a bit. The big dogs aren't fucking around.
The heavyweights rose up in the second round, and things tended to straighten out because, as we said, you have 8 of the 16 teams are 1 and 2 seeds, which is the way it's supposed to be. If you're going by form,
so even it's the strong 3s and 4s. I mean, it's a very blue bloody Sweet 16.
All right, my guy Burns Jr. is more than distinguished himself, so that turned out to be a good spot. I was watching that guy a little bit during the regular season because I love the fact
that Burns Jr. Oof, what a beast!
Jr. has been a monster. Yeah, he's got some aptitude for the game. He's one of those. He's one of those fat guys that can play a little bit. He can ball a little bit. Usually surprises you because he'll make some clever passes. Also,
he's great. He has great vision. They double team him, and he was doing no looks. I'm like, oh shit!
Good stuff from this kid. Yeah. And when he starts rolling in a hoop there, you can feel the earth shake under your own feet, even though you're miles away and sitting at home or in a bar somewhere. How much alcohol was consumed over the weekend, you think, by people watching these games? That'd be a lot.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt about it. Anyway, it was a lot of fun all the way through, especially the first day. I think the first day was the most entertaining of the 4 days so far that we've had at the NCAA tournament. The Ohtani thing is later on today. Mm-hmm. The Heat blasted it. Well, what happened last night? The Heat win by 40 points.
Yes. No, Mitchell. I mean, look, they fucked around versus the Pelicans in a game that was close into the fourth. They lost by 20-something.
Yeah.
And then the Cavs without Mitchell are just a different team. I mean, they've struggled mightily it feels like they're about to lose their 3 seed to the Knicks, who I still don't know what the fuck the Knicks are. Yeah, I mean, so Butler and Bam. What's weird is no one had a great game. Everyone had a nice game, and that's sort of the Heat's way to win.
And he says, what if it's true that the interpreter doesn't even speak Japanese? All this other stuff is total bullshit. I mean, is it possible that he wasn't even interpreting what Ohtani was saying and had no idea what Ohtani was saying?
Ohtani speaks perfect English. He's just giving this guy.
No, I think we're going to find out. Somebody's going to. The move today would be to get to this press conference and become an irritant. You're going to get thrown out. You might even get arrested. You may never be able to work in the media again. But you need to fire off the question and get Ohtani so aggravated and is so insulting and so hurtful that he starts screaming at you in English, perfect English, using slang and vernacular and every possible, word that came off the streets as if he had lived here his entire life.
Yes.
And then after that, and people are so stunned, they don't even know what to do after that. They're just like, wait a minute. It was Barzini all along. I mean, that's all you can say. So that'll be fun. The Panthers, did they...
They won yesterday.
That's what I want.
But the fucking Ranger game Saturday was a goddamn
Ranger game losing a shootout.
That was a war. It was fucking annoying. They had a lead with 3 minutes left, gave that up, went into overtime. And it's rare to see an overtime go with no goals or anything because it's just...
I love that. What? 3-on-3, back and forth. But how great is that?
The goaltending was great from both.
The goalie skates down on a breakaway.
Yep.
Yeah, he don't even care. He's like, you know what? We're scoring on this play. That's going to be it. We don't need anybody in the net. And so the local teams have been performing okay. Panthers still very good. They lose a heartbreaker, a gut wrencher to the New York Rangers, but come right back and win. And the Miami Heat, they have been. I mean, they have been very hard to try and characterize what the hell they're doing here.
No one plays. Hero is out, and no one knows why he's out.
Yeah. Hero is a mystery injury. I thought he had some kind of foot problem.
Well, what's wrong with him?
I don't know.
A foot. I don't. Okay,
there are no reports.
Foot hurting. I don't know. The injuries just are really annoying for the Heat. But I mean, it was a nice game yesterday, so we'll see. We'll see how they hang around. It was nice to see the Panthers keep the game versus Rangers was great. I mean, if you're a hockey fan, it was a great game.
I'm glad you're tuned in, Lubie. I missed that one.
My buddy was like all into it, and I guess because he's a New York guy, and he's giving the Panthers credit. So it was a tournament, so I didn't watch it, but I put it on for a little bit. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and it figures. I mean, look, the Rangers have the most points now. The Panthers kind of fell off that pace a little bit, and so the Rangers are like the number one team. I think in all of hockey. I think the Eastern teams have the most points.
Yeah.
If anybody, although Vancouver had a ton of points, but nobody even knows where they are. I mean, where is Vancouver? West coast of Canada.
Vancouver is 98 points, just like the Rangers, and then you have Colorado, Dallas, and Florida with 90, and Boston, and Carolina with 90. So 5 teams with 97 and 2 with 98.
Right before I came upstairs to do the shows, I caught this, and this is for our good friend Jim Sarney. May he continue in his immense improvement as he's coming back from various things that happened to him medically. But did some guy do like a quadruple Salchow or something? What happened? This skater in the world, what was it, World Skating Championships?
No idea. No clue. If you think I knew
some 19-year-old kid, and I think he's American, I ended up doing something that even Dick Button couldn't have fathomed. So, so I don't know what it was, though, exactly. Does anybody know? Does anybody follow this shit? Because it was up in the headlines on Good Morning America.
No idea. Okay.
They have to push the skating, right? Do they have no, they don't have the Olympics, do they? ABC? It's always
NBC.
NBC, yeah.
NBC has it.
All right. We're going to get into the tournament a little bit more detail. Certainly more detail than we were capable of providing you, although I don't know that we have a risk-free investment for you coming up down the road in the Sweet 16. Do we go Reese Davis on something?
No, risk-free. That's one thing.
How about the fact that he was right? I mean, the guy's under immense criticism today for saying that don't worry about a thing. This is absolutely, it has to happen. This Aaron Dolan gave out a total in a Northwestern game of Northwestern only to score under 60.5 points, and they only got 58 in their game against UConn. So she was right. But big contretemps over the fact that Reese Davis on ESPN looks at the camera and says, I'm guaranteeing this one. It's a risk-free investment.
I mean, that's
as if he was Stu Feiner beating his chest after just burying you with 52 straight losers. Incredible. All right, we're coming back with the professor in a moment. I think the professor was on to this very early on. How is it that when you ever see these beautiful babes in sports books or hanging out at racetracks or any kind of gambling emporiums, how often? I mean, what would the percentage be of just smoking hot, well-dressed babes in their early 20s? Maybe, like
at the races because they like horse racing, but you're not seeing them handicapping. No one's listening to them for fucking. I'm not even being sexist. I'm being
That's one day a year. I mean, you'll see babes out there with the Florida Derby or the Pegasus here in Florida.
They're not handicapped.
Derby. The rest of the time, you go to Churchill Downs, it is the most decrepit bunch of people that you've ever seen in your life. Really broken down old hard boots and poor people from the impoverished area that surrounds the track. And you never see this kind of level of elegance that you do at the Kentucky Derby. Right? And was I right about that, Lubie? I told you this going in, that every girl is going to look like, I mean, she just came off the cover of some glamour magazine. And even, there are no ugly women out there or people on Kentucky Derby Day.
No, Derby's great.
The rest of the time, though, it's a bunch of bag ladies and schleps, I can assure you. I've been there. All right, coming back with the professor and some analysis on the tournament in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:32.
In style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
And we'll see what the professor thinks about this. So you say he brought it up to you?
Yeah,
the
we
professor?
talked. We talked about this like a week. It wasn't even yesterday. It was last week we talked about this.
Yeah. I was unaware of this, Professor, but and thanks for joining us, Professor. This very curious Temple game. I guess.
It is interesting that they tracked it, that well.
Yeah.
So if something did go on with Temple, I'm sure they'll be, and they, particularly if the players organized it themselves, I'm sure they left an electronic footprint somewhere and will get caught.
Something doesn't look right, you would have to say. And I guess, who would be the investigating body of this
NCAA
type of activity? The FBI, the
It would
NCAA?
be the
I mean,
FBI.
okay. So they don't mess around. They're investigating supposedly 5 games,
I mean, they're not
and
100.
4 of them involve
They're
Temple.
not going to mess around with them.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Or
I was
whoever
unaware
left
of that
the coke
until
in the
today.
White House. The FBI didn't exactly. Honestly, I mean, let's be honest here. I'm not a Republican, but they got a point on some of these recent FBI investigations. I'm not trying to criticize the FBI. I think overall the FBI does a pretty excellent job, but should it be that hard to figure out who left a big old bag of coke in the White House? There's that much cocaine in the White House in 2024?
If my dog takes a
know
shit
that.
on the grounds here, believe me, they have a camera that will spot the fact that you did not pick it up.
I don't know about your
It will come
neighborhood.
up at the next homeowners association meeting, and there you are on film, standing there watching
I
this
don't know
dog
about
take a
your
dump.
neighborhood, but my neighborhood, they don't even need the camera. I have got neighbors who watch. That is their existence, is watching
I
dogs
hate
take
that.
a shit in their yard. So I'm just warning you, if RoboCop ever becomes real, the first RoboCops will be dedicated to dog shit in Lighthouse Point.
Yes.
Like,
Oh,
you'll
in
literally
Lighthouse
go out
Point,
and
forget
some
about it.
robot
Man.
will pop up with,
Your
cat
dog
litter
can't
on
even
the
fart in Lighthouse Point without somebody getting upset.
cease and desist, K9.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
That is kind of true about Lighthouse Point.
dog is
Yeah,
shit.
your dog couldn't fart, and somebody would be on top of you. We welcome the professor to the show. Professor coming off what I would imagine annually for him is one of the most celebrated weekends, if not the most, of the year.
I still think it is the greatest sporting event in the American landscape. You can have the Super Bowl, you can have the NCAA playoffs, and all those are great and fun. But just for sheer nonstop 4 days, noon to midnight. Honestly, with that Creighton Oregon game, it was well after midnight. I think that was like almost 1:30 in the morning before that ended. Nonstop fun for 4 days. I think nothing is quite like the NCAA men's tournament.
Got off to a rocking start too. I mean, the Thursday upsets were fantastic, including Oakland over Kentucky. That was
Everybody
great.
liked that 35-year-old orthodontist out there going Caitlin Clark and just chucking relentlessly.
Yes.
Didn't
Didn't he look older than the coach? You're right.
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
Skokie guy. Yeah. The coach had been there 40 years, Kempe, and that hardly looked like a kid. You're right, Professor.
Exactly. It's like an old guy, Gothke. It's like an old guy's name too. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, stay away from old Mr. Gothke's house. He hates it when the kids come to Halloween.
I think he was with the Washington Generals at one point. This guy, I mean, chucking threes against the Trotters, but no, that was interesting. And Yale winning outright, I think that
Always the
came as
worst
a big
part.
surprise.
The worst possible consequence is an Ivy League team win because old white people are completely in their cups whenever that happens.
Yes.
Talking about fundamentals and backdoor cuts.
There you go, Pete
And all
Carroll.
the things. So thank God for Ledee and San Diego State sending the fighting Mr. Burns home back where they belong. Because not only does
Beating
it Ivy
Auburn. Auburn was supposed to be
not
kind of
only
a
does it
sleeper championship
Ivy
team.
League school win, but it's the far and away the most evil. It's like the Mr. Burns,
Yes,
Skull and
yes.
Bones,
I think that's
Bush
true.
family, Ivy League school. Like
Yeah.
when you look at the font of evil, it's pretty much Yale. Like everything horrible started at Yale.
Didn't Ron DeSantis go there?
Horrible
I was trying to
I
avoid
rest
that
my case.
in the state of Florida.
Ah.
But again, when your most famous alum, and this has been voted on several times, is Mr. Burns, and the school is proud of that, that kind of tells you all you need to know about Yale.
Yeah. I was still surprised to see him win an opening round game, especially wasn't Auburn being touted by a lot of people as
Including
a
myself,
possible
I thought
title?
they came in playing very well. This always couldn't happen to a nicer and more deserving guy than Bruce Pearl.
Yeah.
And we get the annual, like, Charles Barkley becomes an Auburn super homer for about 10 minutes
Yes.
and then leaves the studio in tears, which is always
And condemns the program in the process.
yes, I love Charles, but there's nothing more fun than when Auburn disappoints him.
Yeah. So that was a good one. And then Oakland and NC State, that turned out to be a beautiful game in terms of the competitive aspect of it.
I was gonna say, I don't know if it's beautiful, but again, how are you not rooting for Fatso McBurns there?
You have to.
He's fantastic. Again, is giving away $100 million of NFL money to play college basketball because clearly he should be a left tackle somewhere. Just not just a great fat guy player, but one of the more entertaining ones to watch.
Yes.
In a while.
He's a good passer for a guy his size. It's actually pretty impressive.
Hey, he's got some instincts. Where he looks like a fat version of Jokic at times. He really does.
He really is. Like,
Yeah.
Wouldn't the proper nomenclature be a fatter version of Jokic?
Maybe,
Not like
yeah.
Jokic
Man, it's not like Jokic is
No, it's
svelte.
not Jokic is svelte. Yeah.
All right. Do you have an overall, summation of what you saw, Professor? How would you characterize what happened the first couple of days of the tournament, and where do we stand now?
Well,
at Sweet
it's
16?
funny because the round of 32 went very chalky. 15 of 16 favorites won straight up. I believe they were 11-5 against the spread. So people are upset because people on this first weekend live for the charming little guy. They want Yale to win. Now, I never want an Ivy League school to win. I want every Ivy League school to get their skull caved in every year. I'm the guy who roots for that. But like the Oaklands of the world, yeah, I get it. So people get upset when those teams don't advance. But I say, and we've had this conversation annually, when it gets to the Sweet 16s, I want the little guys to leave. I want them to go home. The 16s forward is time for the big boy pants games. And I think everybody should be happy because really, even in the 16s, we are getting all the big boy matchups. We have a rematch of the national title game from last year with UConn and San Diego State. Illinois looking great coming in against Iowa State in a 2-3 game. Down below, North Carolina and Alabama. Again, both looked great in the second round, overcoming some adversity. North Carolina, Sparty both started the game and started the second half, blazing hot shooting.
Yep.
And North Carolina still managed to absolutely crush them.
Yep.
Alabama, let's just say a very unfriendly whistle against Grand Canyon, but managed to finish the game on a 17-3 run to put them away. Clemson and Arizona, I'm less enthusiastic about it. Arizona really has looked okay, but not fantastic. And as I was saying to the boys yesterday, Clemson is the ugliest basketball team I have ever seen. And I don't mean their style of play. I mean, this is a collection of physically ugly beings like I have never seen before in my life.
Yeah.
It is like watching a goddamn carnival freak show from the South in the 1920s out there. Like they got a guard who's a pinhead. They got that fat white power forward guy. I don't know what's going on with him. He's got a gigantic melon on him anyway. Andy wears an afro. The center, who's like 32 years old, has Edward James almost level adult acne. This is a hard to watch basketball team. Other side of the bracket, Houston, who honestly, those referees last night in that Houston Texas A&M game, I was wondering if Shohei Ohtani was texting them during the game. That was so one-sided and ridiculous, and Houston managed to overcome it anyway, managing to score 100 points. They get to play Duke, so we have good Houston versus evil Duke. in a game where Houston, at the very least, we know they're going to beat the shit out of you physically. So, maybe one of them will bop Filipowski in the nose, break his face a little bit. That would be fun. Fantastic matchup. Fatso going against Marquette, a Marquette team that's been fun to watch with Kolek looking healthy.
Yes.
Against America's hero, Fatso McBurn's there for NC State, which honestly is going to be an interesting matchup because Marquette's big is very good, but he's like a tall, skinny, athletic dude. I don't know how he's going to deal with Burns. It might be a long night for him. Purdue and Gonzaga, I don't know that that's going to be that great a game, but it might be fun. And, everybody likes rooting for the Zags, and everybody hates Zach Edey and Purdue, so we'll have a side. And then I think maybe Creighton and Tennessee, the best game at all. Both teams overcoming struggles in the second round. Creighton to very impressively cover in that double overtime, despite the Chucker kid from Oregon having another huge game, including tying it at the end of the first game. Everybody around went nuts for that, and was like, "What a shot!" I was like, "That's the luckiest shot I've ever seen in my life." He literally raised up from 27 feet with a 6'7" guy covering him. That's just blind luck. And then comes back in the second overtime and shoots three more of them, and two of them are air balls, and the other one hits the top of the backboard. It's like, I told you that one at the first overtime was luck. And Tennessee, again, overcoming Rick Barnes. It's a great matchup. So, for all the complaining about not a lot of underdogs, maybe only NC State as coming into I guess you got Clemson too, but only a couple underdogs coming in the Sweet 16. I think what it means is you get great matchups for the Sweet 16. You're going to have great matchups in the 8s and probably great matchups in the 4s. So, yes, the theme is favorites, but I don't think that leads us to a bad place in this second weekend.
All right, Dusty May going to Michigan. We thought that he was leaving after this year.
Interesting reaction to that, too. Michigan fans not nearly as enthusiastic
really?
about that as I thought they might be. There's a large percentage of the Michigan fan base who are kind of questioning that hire. I would say, who else are you looking
What
for?
they want.
Yeah. You would have to think. I don't remember FAU even having a basketball status, even though I had called some games there many years ago.
I think
in the infant
before
stages
they had
of Sunshine Network.
I think they had made one tournament before this, and it was one of those. They were like a 7 seed in the Sun Belt tournament, kind of lucked their way through, and were a 15 or a 16 seed and got crushed.
Yeah.
You would have to think that a guy that could put that program on the map to the extent that he did, and win the number of games that he did, and
the
go to a Final Four, what would be an asset? I mean, he conducts himself very professionally, or so it seems.
No, the complaints seem to be that he just found Davis and Golden, the guard who's probably an NBA player, and look, for those of us who are aware of what FAU is, that's actually impressive. It's not like he bought those kids with a bunch of NIL. It's not like there's this huge, wad of money for him to be spending on NIL.
Golden was kind of a clod when he came.
He was 0% a clod.
And again, Davis was like a 2-star, 3-star recruit,
never heard of
who the Big Ten schools didn't offer. And again, has developed into a very high level player.
League.
I think that's a kind of coach you wouldn't mind at a Michigan, particularly. Look, let's be honest. In the Big Ten, you're way behind Purdue. Illinois always recruits great. You got Sparty in your own state, who you've been behind in basketball since Magic Johnson, basically. You need a guy who can come in and build from the ground up. And I thought May has displayed a pretty good job of being able to do that. I think it's a good hire. Is it setting the world on fire hire? No. But it's, if you're going to elevate a guy, I think he would have been one of the picks. Top 2 or 3 anyway, absolutely.
Yeah, I was very impressed with Dusty May. All of these college basketball coaches in general, when you sit down and talk to them, they really impress you in a lot of different ways.
Some of them do.
Well, even the most criminal, they can be very charming, and they can convince you that they were doing everything the right way and that they were just nothing but pillars of virtue. I'm
gonna go the other way with that, and say, in light of the Kim Mulkey story, which
Mulkey would be maybe an exception,
a pretty good run in the news cycle. To me, basketball coaches, particularly the really good ones, are a weird lot in that they're either saints, they're Dean Smith, they're John Wooden, they're these guys, or they're just absolutely the most abominable human beings you can find. Bobby Knight, Ratface, Gino
Huggins.
Auriemma, Huggy Bear, Kim Mulkey, who I don't know if it's true, but supposedly one of the rumors that's very popular on Twitter right now is that the story she's trying to kill, the Washington Post story, was that she was one of the people at January 6th. And
Oh,
then
yeah?
there's pictures of it. I'm not
Wow.
saying that's the story. I'm saying that's a rumor of what the story is. I don't know what the story is, but that is a very common rumor right now on Twitter. And given her overall personality, it kind of seems to fit. So
Oh, you could see her flying off the top rope right through the window in the Capitol building. I mean,
100%. That's what I'm saying. Like college
yeah.
basketball coaches have this very weird thing where they're either like just the greatest people you've ever met, or they are just Hitler reincarnated. They're either angels or demons with nothing in between.
Yeah, I mean, often impressive, and yet Dusty May, for some reason, just stood out to me as being somebody that you thought, wow, this guy will do a great job wherever he goes next.
I mean, Bobby Knight disciple, so I'm strongly rooting against him.
Yeah.
I hope Tom Izzo crushes his throat every time they play.
Lubie thinks he
that,
really screwed up the last few seconds of that Northwestern game.
He was horrible in the last 30 seconds, but there's only so much he could have done.
You know what I got to say? Was it him
He's
or
not
was it
playing
the
the game.
players? I mean,
He's
look,
not playing. I was just frustrated.
the out of bounds play, they probably shouldn't have thrown it into Golden, but nobody else got open. You only got 5 seconds.
Yeah.
When you get to that point, you got to throw it into somebody. And he was 9 of 10 on the line going into that possession, which you can look at two ways. You can say, one, well, he's got the hot hand, let him try. Or you can say, well, if he's 9 of 10, that means he's 100% missing.
Yeah.
The 1-on-1.
Yeah.
And then the Davis one at the end, honestly, I really like Davis's game, but it looked like he kind of freelanced there.
Yep.
And just said, I'm going full on Steph and settling for a long ass chuck to win the game. I'm trying to get in the one shining moment package with this shot instead of going to the basket and getting fouled. But I don't know that may necessarily put that on the chalkboard, so I'm not going to be quick to blame him for the end of that game. So, and again, on balance, what he's done at FAU has been
very impressive.
Really nice run.
No doubt. Matter of fact, he kept these guys together. All of these coaches seem to be dealing with the central issue, which is, can you keep your players? So, especially in a program like that, which he managed to do for the most part, and brought back a team that many people thought would do well again, but fell short there in the final seconds. Otherwise, who knows?
And again, some of it is just breaks, as has been well pointed out by the Juwan Howard supporters. Both Caleb Love, who is Arizona's best player, and Terrence Shannon, who has put Illinois on his back for the last bit, were both coming to Michigan and got rejected by the school as transfers. So you have to wonder what Michigan would have looked like this year if their backcourt were Caleb Love and Terrence Shannon. I tend to think, at the very least, they'd have been a tournament team with those two. And
how did the boosters let that happen?
Well, on the other hand, let's remember Michigan lost Hunter Dickinson because Kansas came in and gave him supposedly $1.5 million that Michigan didn't come up with. So, the boosters can be unhappy with Juwan Howard. They may want or may not want Dusty May. They may have wanted a bigger hire, but you got to come through for the program as well.
All right, and we were talking about this story on our No Filter show. This whole thing with Reese Davis looking at the camera and saying this is a risk-free investment.
Dear God.
Have you seen that?
What a bad choice of words that was.
A risk-free investment. And now this Aaron Dolan, and you pointed this out, where and Lubie and I were talking about it. The various gambling emporiums I've been in, I don't see a large percentage of smoking hot young babes.
You don't see 27-year-old blonde tens hanging out very often.
Dressed impeccably. No, I mean, it's usually, like I said, some guy that looks like Ratso Rizzo, is slumped over, and you just hope he doesn't blow his nose.
As I heard Lubie say before you went to break, like on Kentucky Derby Day at Gulfstream.
Yeah.
You see a lot of babes.
Florida Derby Day. Yeah. It's nothing but babes.
Handicapping.
If that's your first day at the track, you think it's like that all the time. And then you come out there on a Wednesday afternoon when it's raining and you're asking yourself, what the fuck?
I know. But you go there on literally any other day of the year and it's all Cuban abuelas, smoking Pall Mall with the filter. Betting on zero on the roulette wheel. it is not an environment that you see a lot of top level future models in, except on the television end of it. And
No, you're waiting at the, they're waiting at the track tattoo shop. I mean,
I got to be honest, I don't really have a problem with them doing the hosting roles,
yeah,
which is what most of them do. These Aaron Dolans and a couple others out there that are actively picking games.
yes.
It's not something I'm going to follow. I mean,
Sean
but
Payton's daughter is doing it on FanDuel TV. You're not a big FanDuel TV guy, I would imagine, but
I don't
yeah,
think I've
Megan
ever.
Payton, she's picking games. I mean, the girl looks like she's 24 years old.
I wasn't aware that FanDuel TV was a thing people actually watched.
Well, it used to be
But
TVG. It was the horse racing channel,
oh, okay.
but they were bought
Um,
out by FanDuel a
what
couple of
you
years
picking
ago.
horses?
They do
No,
big-
I mean they show horse racing like they did before, but there's a huge emphasis now on sports betting.
yeah, they do everything now.
I mean, look, I'm going to be honest with you. These people out there, and there are huge numbers of them, particularly among the younger crowd, who are basically using these apps to play lottery tickets.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who came up. Someone came up to me. My buddy Rob came up to me the other day. It was like, "Yeah, man, I was 2 picks away from 200,000 on my $50 parlay, and
Yes.
like 9 teams or 10 teams or whatever the hell it was." I was like, "So what'd you need to close?" It's like, "Oh, I needed Rozier to have more than 4 assists for the Heat." I was like, "Okay." Like if you're betting 9, 10, 12 leg parlays that feature how many assists will Rozier
Yes.
have over
Imagine.
4,
It-
to
it's- it-
me, I mean, that's really not different than playing the Powerball. So you
I was
do-
looking at a line actually on FanDuel TV. This might have been a recommendation of Megan Payton or whoever she was working with, that you should bet the over on Chet Holmgren in a game to have more than 1.5 3-pointers.
There you go.
So you're literally betting that this string bean, is going to throw up a couple
I'm
of
not-
3-pointers in a game, which I guess he typically does. But
I'm not going to promote it, so I'm not going to use the name. There was a girl who Lubie and I randomly just started seeing on Twitter all the time,
yeah,
who was great looking. I mean, amazing looking to the point where I thought she might be an escort, not a picture, a handicapper. So we started looking at her things every once in a while, and it was always assists by like backup power forwards and centers, like over under half an
who the
assist.
fuck is betting this? I mean, they know that that's the bet that absolutely will ruin every parlay.
And
Oh, yes,
the one that stuck out to me was what was the guy's name? He played for the Heat, Precious something or other. Precious.
Achua.
Precious.
You know, I love Precious Achua.
Like once a week, she would pick over half an assist for Precious Achua. At the time, it was like one of those guys. Maybe he will, maybe he won't get.
It wasn't like he
6
was
for the
John
Raptors.
Stockton. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
what
It's just depending on the game, and like that's what people go for.
Yeah.
And if you want to take your advice on numbers like that from some blonde, who's great looking, okay, knock yourself out. It's not something I'm going to pick. But if that's the way you want to do things, that it just seems to be that's the trend for the modern generation.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not going to be honest. I'm no better. When I go to the horse track, I bet jockeys. I bet numbers. I am the guy who, and I haven't been to dog track in 30 years. But when I did go to the dog track, if the dog took a crap before the race, I was 100%
certainty,
betting on
yes.
that dog.
Yeah. In fact, that was
So-
generally a sign. They would, provoke the dog to take a dump to indicate to the people in the crowd that this dog was ready to roll from
So,
the stable.
I'm not going to say I'm any better.
Yeah.
It's just a different style, and this is what's popular.
What if several dogs took a shit in the post parade? What did you do?
Bet the superfecta? You box the super. No,
It's a great system. It probably was, close to as infallible as this Aaron Dolan picks were, at least according to Reese Davis. I mean, how much flack should this guy get for that? You have a network that's in bed with these various
honestly,
outfits.
they should pull it from gambling segments. It is an irresponsible thing to say coming from a major voice in sports.
Yes.
And look, I get it's not easy because ESPN, Aaron Dolan's got a job because they hired and then fired Kelly Stewart, who you may or may not remember from that Showtime action series. She was the really good-looking blonde in that Showtime action series years ago.
Okay.
And they fired her because she had used some offensive words on Twitter. So ESPN, not only does it have to be a young blonde 10, it's got to be a young blonde 10 who's never said anything
With
controversial
an impeccable reputation.
on social media. So like that's pretty limited number of things.
Hey, she hit. It turned out to be a risk-free investment. If you would just listen to this woman and not gotten all caught up in the fact that Reese Davis was issuing this guarantee, then,
again, I don't know.
You ended up scoring.
I don't know what was in his head, particularly for a guy who has done as much college.
And they don't get near gambling. So now all of a sudden they're being finer. Like, how do you go from not doing gambling at all to saying it's a lock?
This is my mortal lock of the season. In fact, the mortal lock of my lifetime.
This is the difficult transition everybody is dealing with
unbelievable,
in
huh?
sports.
You gotta love it.
Gone from no gambling ever. We don't want gambling anywhere. To
Coach is talking about spread beaters in the press conference.
Adam Silver comes out in a jacket that has FanDuel written on it. We've gone from that to Pat Riley considering getting a face tattoo of DraftKings. I mean, that's just that we have this really weird transition that's going on in sports and getting used to it. And I think it's an irresponsible comment, particularly again to a group of people who kind of go super irresponsible to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the Darren Rovell posted one last night where some guy had bet like a 22 team money line parlay that $50 was going to win $250, and it only needed Baylor and somebody else to close. So naturally Baylor went out and completely shit the bed. Again, probably a little frightened of how ugly Clemson was, being in the room with that maybe something could catch. So Baylor players really didn't want to go to the basket during that game. It's a tough era in terms of sports journalism and that section of it in particular. And it's look, ESPN launched a betting app. So how
if they're giving out
irresponsible are they supposed to be?
They're giving out risk-free investments. They're not even giving out possible wagers at this point.
That's why I like that Scott Van Pelt does the
bad beats. Those are great. Yeah.
He shows you this is what can happen.
They come up with some remarkable ones too.
Everything right, and it can all go very, very wrong.
What's amazing is you remember like that thing at Rutgers. I mean, that'll stay with you for a lifetime. But when you see Van Pelt goes into this every week, he's got like a dozen of them. And you're like, really? Look at all the people that get fucked.
Well, again, just last night, if you took Houston minus the 8.5, you're up 13 with 3 minutes left.
Right.
Your team has played offensively brilliantly throughout the course of the game, and all of a sudden the refs are going, nah, we're just going to let Texas A&M shoot 50 free throws.
There you go.
Down the stretch here.
And you wonder if they're on the take.
And
exactly.
Again, that's not one that's going to be dramatic enough to make the bad beats, but wow, that was a rough one if you were on the Houston end of that side.
Unbelievable, yeah. All right, Professor, always a pleasure. And thanks so much for your analysis. Good stuff, as always. And we will talk again, I guess, before Thursday, I hope?
Okay.
Or Thursday, or somewhere
we got a lot of on Thursday if you want. Look,
we got a lot of big matchups. I'm sure there'll be some great games. And hopefully Houston and Duke is not one of them, because hopefully Houston wins by 130.
Slapped around. All right. Very good. Professor, we love you, man. Thanks so much for being with us here on the show. It's always a pleasure, my friend. The Professor, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Lubie, that's it for us, huh?
That is it.
And we'll see you later on, 1 o'clock today. Mike Mayo Lunchbox Special.
Yes.
And now, do I do a review of this Roundup visit that I had?
Yeah, did you eat? I've never.
I had like a little something. It was already ordered and kind of out there. I was with a party of like a dozen people or so. So they had some sliders out there. I wouldn't say that the food was going to win any of these big awards or anything.
I went. There was because I was single and my.
It wasn't terrible.
I went a few Fridays. I don't remember eating ever, so I don't know. I give you. The drinks are cheap and there's a lot of chicks there, and they usually are down to like have a lot of fun because it's usually it's like open bar.
It was thoroughly amazing. It was an eye opener. If I was a young man today, I would look like Haas fucking Cartwright, man.
I like dancing. It's the one dancing I have no idea what to do because it's
no idea what to do. These line dances,
people doing these routines, and I'm like, as a guy who's been going to clubs my whole life, that's usually not what usually the white people are.
It's hardly as physical as breakdancing. That's for sure.
It's just
But who can
different.
remember these steps?
That's the thing.
One,
It's just like
dosey,
my
do.
buddy, this black guy, he's really good at dancing. And I've always been good at dancing. And we go to these clubs, but then we're watching these white people, and we're like, what are they doing?
What are they doing, man?
Like the wild, but they're all in sync, and they all know the moves.
It's some older woman that was giving instructions the whole time. I guess what they have like lessons, and that's why everybody comes, and it's ladies' night on top of that.
I know. It used to be ladies' night.
Literally lined up around the corner in the rain, Lubie. In the rain, they're lined up, down the block that the entrance was on, and around the corner. It was incredible. You would have thought they were giving money away. It looked like the early morning shakeup at the DMV. It was pretty amazing to me. All with these young girls that were decked out, and the cowboy outfit and fanfare. Which let's face it, only Daisy Duke. What are we fucking talking about here?
It's a world that I never understood. I know we kept going back and I never got it. But I always thought
I wouldn't care if you never took a step out there on the floor. It looked like a giant skating rink.
Oh no, yeah, I don't. Yeah, you know.
Well, what a racket these guys have going! If it's like that every night, these guys are making a fortune there.
The drinks are not.
No live band. I mean, for $10 cover, I'm expecting the Oak Ridge Boys to be playing or something.
Yeah, there's no band.
No band. Nothing.
The drinks aren't. I guess they're cheap, but it's not like they're great. And people.
No impact whatsoever. The drinks.
I didn't realize what's going on. This was like shit. Is it 15 years ago when this was a long time. I think it was before I met you that I would do these Fridays.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was still going on. That's impressive that it's actually gotten bigger.
Oh my God. You wouldn't have believed it. You would have thought literally they were giving money away to everybody that came in, not whacking them for $10 at the door. No, I'm thinking that the women had to pay also.
I don't know.
This wasn't a freebie ladies' night deal. I don't believe. I think they were paying the $10 cover charge, and they were scrutinizing everybody, with the wands and everything, and checking your weapons and licenses. I mean, they were really. I like they wanted to avoid any problem before it could have possibly transpired.
Which is fine. That's smart.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Do people just get in brawls there? I mean, what's the story?
I've never seen it. No, actually, the few times I've been there, it's very copacetic.
It was. I mean, actually, kind of nice to see. I would have to say, because all of these young, I guess, women that were living in. I'm assuming that most of them, didn't travel like long distances to get there, but kind of like we did. So you're figuring it's kind of, going to be within the neighborhood, but they seem to be very decent, good, clean, fun-loving people.
People get along really well. That's the one thing.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't see a lot of, irritated sorts out there. They were just having a good time. So very interesting, Lubie. I don't know if we get Mayo out there to do a little line dancing. Maybe
I'm down to go. Shirley, I think it's been before I met her. It's a really fun time. I can't get the dancing down. Like
no, I couldn't.
I can't. And it's like, what the fuck are they doing?
It's funny, everybody, because I played the drums. I'm a drummer that had no rhythm whatsoever when it came to dancing. I can't dance a lick. The worst ever, and totally self-conscious about it. On top of that, why is it that everybody's looking at me? Like anybody gives a shit what some old fat Jew is doing on the dance floor, right? I mean, the fact that you're even standing is probably, a fortunate circumstance. All right, we got to get out of here. Thanks so much for being with us. I'll catch you later on 1:00. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox right here on South Florida Live, and we'll catch you tomorrow also. Hopefully, I don't know. I didn't really look over these matchups too much, and I don't know that I would be able to
That's why I don't want to
find any insight anyway.
With picks now, but we can start looking. I mean, I'll probably start looking today just to see if there's anything interesting. It's a lot of top-level teams, so the game hopefully will be good. Hopefully, it will be really good action.
All right. We'll see what happens. All right, we'll catch you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for being with us here on the Defo Show. You can catch the Morning Briefing, Caffeine TV, the Morning Briefing. All you have to do is Google that. Caffeine as in coffee, TV. Mm-hmm. The Morning Briefing, and a bunch of episodes will pop up. I don't know. Today's usually is sort of a compilation of others.
Yep.
But, it'll arbitrarily show up as like October 24th edition of the program, which I'm sure we were very accurate in what we were saying at that time, which later bore out to be completely founded in truth. All right, and we'll see what Otani has to say today. That's a good question, Andy asks. Did the interpreter even speak Japanese? Good question. I think relevant. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time
What was that thing again? It ended in Cuso. I know that. Amanawata Cuso. Right? You're fucked. It is 9:08.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.